Kier Kills. I'm your host, Kirsten Michelle Sills. You can just call me Kier. Well, awards season has finally come to a close. It's my favorite time of year where industry professionals all over the world decide which movies are good and which movies are gonna win anyway because their friends made them. Not only is awards season officially done, but we are now halfway through 2025. And being in 2025 means we are halfway through the decade, which is, in a way, the greatest horror of all. So this is Kier Kills Presents the best of the 2020s so far. I know what you're thinking. Kier, what is best? It's so subjective, right? And to that, I would say, shut up, nerd. Just kidding. The answer is, I don't really even know, honestly. These are what I am considering the 13 best horror films of the 2020s so far. And yes, I'm doing this out of 13 and not 10 because I want to be spooky and on brand. And also, I could not stomach only doing 10 because this decade has been so fucking good. So starting off at number 13, we have Scream 6. I had to. Scream is my birthmark, and also this film particularly was so energizing. I loved the change of location. I have nothing but love for the core four. I loved the fleshing out that they did of all the characters. The Ghostface shrine and museum thing was obviously incredible, and also I think the highest that my dopamine has maxed out in years. That movie pretty much just played on like every ounce of nostalgia that I possibly have in my body. Admittedly, I was their key demographic. Number 12, Terrifier 3. One of the hills that I will die on is that I am a grade A certified Damien Leone apologist. I've been a huge Damien Leone fan since I was in high school when All Hallows Eve came out. And the original Terrifier came out in 2016, and I think I speak for like all big horror fans who were in on the underground stuff, that movie felt like such a fun secret, and I did not ever expect it to be a household name. I thought it would just be a household name within the households of little freaks like us. And flash forward to last year, and Art the Clown is sweeping the box office, beating out the Joker himself. And I guess I've never been happier to be proven wrong. Terrifier 3 is proof positive of Damien Leone's growth as a director and as a storyteller. I think that this film specifically highlights the three aspects of this franchise that I really love, which is David Howard Thornton's unbelievable movement and character work, and kills that I have literally never seen in a film, nor could I have dreamt up. Damien Leone is one of those people who I want to hang out with, but almost don't want to be alone in a room with him, because how does your brain think of these things? You sick fuck. Keep it up. I also can't talk about this movie without highlighting Lauren Lavera's performance as Sienna Shaw. Unbelievable. Of course, it's hard to say what someone's life would look like after the trauma that she has been through, but Lauren Lavera did an incredible job at it. The tone of Terrifier 3 has such a duality to it until the third act, right? Because the scenes with Art are like so stylized and high energy, and then the scenes with Sienna are very grounded, very dark, very genuine. And then like by the time we see them cross paths at the mall, it's almost so jarring to remember that they're even in the same movie. The only reason that I do not have this movie ranked higher is that while I think that Art and Sienna are like carrying this thing flawlessly, I feel like Jonathan's character was just not as fleshed out as I had hoped for. And the character of Mia was just a little too heightened and like theater kid acty for my taste. I just feel like Jonathan and Sienna being apart from each other while he's at college was like good dramatic action, but it kept me from remembering Jonathan, frankly. Like when Sienna is on screen, there's never a time that I forget Sienna exists, right? But when Jonathan isn't on screen and then we cut back to him, my brain's like, oh my gosh, I forgot. And I don't think that that's a statement on anyone in particular. I just think it was a tough film to kind of put him in. Obviously, I am glad that we had the whole college world going on. Otherwise, we would never have gotten that scene. So thank you, Mr. Leone, for your work. Keep it up and see a therapist. Number 11, When Evil Lurks. This film is just... I want to say I am famously like the slowest, worst reader in the world. And still, I had no issues with following this movie. If you don't know, it's a movie that is subtitled. It's an Argentinian film. So if that's your issue with why you haven't watched it yet, you have no excuse. go do it. This film, I just feel like, has a really perfect combination of making us care about the characters and then also unrelentingly killing them in front of us, even the ones that we assume are safe. I was very impressed with that dog scene. That took so much guts, literally and figuratively, I guess. I also really liked how, even though the circumstances were very heightened in When Evil Lurks, the acting was still very grounded. Like, it didn't feel like too much, even though on paper it's a very otherworldly kind of film. I think I also love the fact that this film seems kind of like it's some sort of COVID-19 allegory, but when you read further into it, it's not about COVID at all, which I think is very interesting. Number 10, Pearl. If I had to go back to college and write a dissertation on one film, honest to God, it might be Pearl. And I know that's a big thing to say for a film that's not even on the top 5 of this list, but I mean that in the sense of like the sheer amount of things to unpack in this film and like get into. This is the kind of stuff that gets me up in the morning. I feel like I could write 100 pages about Pearl and still feel like I missed some points. I don't want to harp too hard on the obvious, which is Mia Goth's performance, because that's pretty much what everyone collectively awed at when this was released, and rightfully so. She knocked it out of the park. I also want to highlight the color scheme, the very stylized editing, the very Wizard of Oz of it all. I feel like they built this very authentic world, and I never felt like I had to suspend disbelief on my own. It was just very effortless, and I am someone who has a lot of trouble suspending disbelief, which I know is funny to say as a horror fan. I really, really wish I could go back in time and watch Pearl again for the first time, and that's one of the highest honors I can give a film. So, coming in at number 9, In a Violent Nature. If you look at In a Violent Nature from the perspective of like the storyline, the emotional depth, the poetry, whatever, this film is fine then, right? But if you look at it just from the perspective of like being someone who just loves well executed horror, great directing, I loved the Friday the 13th game, I love dope ass kills, this movie fucking rules. What I really liked about this film is that it takes a lot of the really overdone concepts of like a summer camp, cabin in the woods slasher, and it makes it somehow entirely fresh. Because it does it all from the perspective of the killer, whose name is Johnny. I love seeing the little vignettes that he briefly encounters, like the teenager's story, which is like a separate movie going on, which normally would be the movie that we would be following. I also love that he has to straight up walk everywhere. I think it's very funny, and I'm sure very true to life if this were real. I love that if he leaves his weapon somewhere, he has to go get it. In terms of the kills, the yoga pretzel is, of course, undeniably amazing, but I also want to honor the head smash kill. I rewound and replayed the head smash kill about 15 times trying to figure out the logistics of how they pulled that off. I still cannot believe how clean it looks, and the fact that he's still moving up until the second it happens. I have 1,000 questions for the people who worked on this. So if you worked on this and you know the answer, please DM me. I will buy you a drink. Tell me everything. I have watched the behind the scenes documentary of this film a couple times. If you haven't watched it, I really recommend it. When they were making In a Violent Nature, they worked really hard on this film. They gave it everything, and then they just scrapped it and remade the entire film from scratch. And that is some of the realest shit that I've ever seen someone openly talk about in this industry. And I just respect the hell out of writer-director Chris Nash for being very open about his mistakes and his ego, and I just want to see him do more, frankly. And honest to God, talking about this right now makes me want to go watch it. Number 8, Late Night with the Devil. As you may or may not know about me, while horror is my passion, I do still have to pay the bills. My full-time, real-world job is that I am a stand-up comic for a living. And yes, I realize calling the business of comedy the real world is a stretch, but it's my profession, no matter how unprofessional it is. I am a comedian because of so many incredible comics. However, I am a comedian as a career because of one man and one man only, which is Jimmy Fallon. I discovered him when he was on Late Night with Jimmy Fallon. Every night I wanted to be the first woman to take over Late Night. So I'm definitely the demographic for this film. There's also the incredibly niche little added thing. I often have to wear oxygen. This is what I look like about half the year. I'll insert a picture somewhere. I'm oxygen dependent most of the time. And his wife, Minnie, being another fellow oxygen hottie, was like, it felt like this film was made specifically for me. I think that what makes this movie unbelievable is the world building. I really love when films do this thing that I would call like choose your own appreciation, I guess. It's like choose your own adventure, but based on how much or how little you want to pick up on. Like if you're more of a general viewer of late night TV shows, like you have seen them, but it's not like you're really entrenched in the culture or whatever, you will love this movie still. And if you're someone like me who's been hyper fixated on late night shows since I was 12, you will also love this film. And I think it's very cool when no amount of like too much or too little knowledge of the world that they're paying homage to is gonna affect your viewing experience. I am like all for inside baseball sometimes, but I feel like a lot of the times films about show business tend to do the thing that's like you either get it or you don't to make others feel excluded. Maxine. But not Late Night with the Devil, and I was very appreciative of that. I have genuinely sought out to listen to every single interview that David Dastmalchian has done about this film, and he did his research to make this film happen. This man loves late night television, and it shows in every ounce of his performance. Of course, you can't talk about this film without talking about the AI artwork scandal. If you don't know what it is, look it up. It sucks. I know it sucks. I agree with all the criticism, blah, 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 but this is an incredible and original piece of horror, and I don't want to take that away from it. And also, I am a terminally ill person. I can't keep living in the past. Baby, time's ticking. Gotta forgive and forget. Number 7, Fresh. Okay, I heard a lot about Fresh before I watched it. From the second that title card dropped, which granted was not until 30 minutes into the film, I spent the entire film from the bottom of my heart having no idea what was going to happen. And I watched a lot of horror movies. Fresh does the thing where it like breaks our trust as an audience, but in the right way. A lot of films in the genre like to give us a main character who's like making choices that are anywhere from smart to screaming at the screen because you can't believe they did that. But honestly, every single thing that Noah does in this movie, I would also do. Like single, in your 20s, very hyper aware, but genuinely I bought every ounce of Steve, even though I knew going in what the premise was. Fresh was sick premise, sick execution, no notes. Number 6, Saw X, or Saw 10, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so it's no secret that I have a terminal illness, and as a real life terminally ill person, Jigsaw drives me crazy. In the most like love-hate way. If I were to watch the movies with somebody else and they started talking shit on Jigsaw, I would go to bat for him. But, oh, buddy. I am consistently pissed off by Jigsaw's pretentious little I'm terminally ill and I'm going to make it everyone else's problem thing. But dear God, it's Saw X. Did Tobin Bell manage to pull on every heartstring I have left in my cold, dead black heart? None of his backstory justifies his actions, because literally nothing in the world could justify what we've seen that man do to human beings. But he did an incredible and frankly beautiful job. While I have so many issues with Jigsaw, I love Tobin Bell. I also really want to highlight the fact that this film got out of the usual setting. This film does not take place in non-copyright infringing generic green and blue city. This film definitely has a standalone world that it has built. Now, the kills. Okay, people love to say that the Saw movies are like torture porn. Everyone loves to use that phrase, which is, I think, definitely a misconception about the first film. The rest of the films do really live up to that reputation, but the first film is absolutely not. The first film is just 7. But Saw X, the kills in this movie, the best way that I could describe some of these kills is just unrelenting. Some of these takes are so long that your brain is like begging them to just do the old trick that they did in the earlier Saw movies where they have like a billion cuts flashing so you don't really see anything for too long. This just makes us watch truly every second of agony, and it's honestly really hard to watch. And to say that something is hard to watch is a huge compliment coming from me. Number 5, Invisible Man. This one's gonna have the shortest reasoning for me, because honestly I think because it means the most to me. Invisible Man from 2020 is a masterpiece. It is as simple as I can put it. The only reason that it's not higher up on the list is simply because it is like psychologically horrifying, absolutely, but it's not a traditional horror film in terms of scares. And not that it needs to be, but just to honor the fact that this is a horror channel. God, it's so good. Number 4, we have Host from 2020. When I have described Host to people in the past, I always use the same phrase, which is I say it is a masterclass in scary. The runtime is under an hour, which is truly a gift from whatever Lord you praise. The acting is so authentic because they're really just improvising. It's got a little bit of like the mumble gore vibe, but I really, really like it a lot. The characters are very, very likable with an exception. And even she honestly does kind of redeem herself at the end there, as much as you can. I loved watching the behind the scenes for this movie. If you haven't watched them, they're on YouTube. Just watching how every actor had to actually just truly do their own stunts. And they had to have, if they were quarantined with anybody, they had to help them film it. I also think this movie stuck with me so much because I can't remember the last time I watched a movie that I was so on the edge of my seat for every second. I vividly remember finishing Host for the first time I watched it and feeling like I needed to take a nap afterwards. But then instead of taking a nap, I just immediately watched it again because I am a chronic rewatcher. Host from 2020 is just like stone cold, undeniable, just scary fucking horror. There's no genre crossing, there's no like deeper message. It is just a horror. And God, if that's not what it's all about. Number 3. The movie that I put at number 3 kind of just came out in the grand scheme. So for it to be this high on my list, I think is a huge testament to the mark that it left on me. Because a lot of the other films that are this high up are things that have been out for a few years. I've been rewatching them a lot. But I just watched this one and immediately fell in love. Number 3 is Oddity. Damien McCarthy, I believe, is the director's name. I'm gonna look that up. This movie is just beautiful. The actress who plays Danny and Darcy is so transformative. I am truly embarrassed to admit how long it took me to realize that it was the same actress. However, the only thing that makes me feel better is that I did hear in audio commentary from behind the scenes that the editor of the film also didn't realize for a while and he was editing it. I love that this movie kind of didn't have a twist necessarily. Like, I suppose it did in a way in terms of like the motive. It kind of tells you everything that's going to happen in the first couple minutes of the movie and also in the trailer. I saw this film for the first time only maybe 2 months ago, and I have probably already watched it about 9 or 10 times. The scenery is unbelievable, the production design. I love that the house is like a big frame with nothing in the middle. So you're essentially always being like followed. How do I make a square? Oh my God. There could always be someone behind you. The scares were so good. As someone who lives alone, I was genuinely afraid to go to bed, and that really does not happen. God, I hope that people see this. I really hope that like by the time that I release this video that people will be commenting and saying that they saw this movie and they loved it. I did see the other film that this director did as well, Caveat, and it seems like he's creating some sort of little universe with the trinkets, if you will, the little props that are in each of these 2 movies. So I'm hoping that we get more of that. I would love that. Because no offense to James Wan, but I would be stoked to never have to see Ed and Lorraine Warren again. We need a new universe. Coming in at number 2, The Menu. I don't think I've felt this way about a cast since I saw Hereditary, or maybe Midsommar. The commentary on like the culture of the 1%, and especially in regards to like what they expect from the people who serve them. I love that the actors gave these characters enough nuance that I didn't fully hate all of them, you know? Even though we were supposed to. They played them like real people and not like cartoons or caricatures. This movie is also just so playful. I don't know what it is that happens within me. It's like, I think I use the movie The Menu as a performance-enhancing drug, in a way. And of course, I cannot talk about this film without talking about the cheeseburger. It was the most appetizing on-screen food I have ever seen. Even more so than the pizza from the Goofy movie, which is a high honor. We've made it to number 1, folks. I would also love to hear, before I say what number 1 is, if you guys can tell me in the comments if by the time we got here you figured out what number 1 is before I say it. Just based on what you're gathering my taste is, but also what you think was maybe missing from this list and was definitely going to be on it. I said I'm going to go with my gut, and the only movie I kept coming back to time and again for number one on this list is Barbarian. You would think that, like, as a stand-up comic professionally and a horror lover personally, that I would love, like, horror comedies, but honestly I typically do not. Usually, especially in, like, the 2010s horrors, anytime there was, like, a joke or a comedic relief, it was not actually funny. It was, like, diet funny. Or if it was funny, it wasn't that scary, right? Like Tucker and Dale or something. I am surprised by how much I loved this film, and I think it is a testament to the fact that the funny in this movie is funny, and the scary in this movie is so scary. I'm also not even a music person, genuinely. I know that sounds weird to say. I don't really like music. I am more of a movie and words person. And for me to watch a movie and notice how good the soundtrack is tough. And still I walked away being like, damn, that was good. I really like about Barbarian that there's never really a consistent tone. There's this whiplash that we're getting constantly. When I saw the trailer, I did expect this to be more of like a single location in a house horror movie, which is typically my favorite kind of subgenre. But we get Tess out in the real world, we get the job interview, we get the 1950s flashbacks, which I love. I don't want a sequel or a prequel to this movie, but if this movie were like to release an extra hour long of deleted scenes just of the 1950s world, I would love to see more of it. And of course, I have to say a little bit that I am biased by choosing this film because I do have a condition where anytime Justin Long is in a film, it becomes 150% better to me. So this kind of had a leg up on the competition. When my friends and I watched this for the first time, we took bets. We each wrote down the timestamp that we think we will find out if Bill Skarsgård is good or bad. And then we also wrote down the timestamp that we think Justin Long is going to appear in the movie. And little did we know, those would basically be the same timestamp. Perhaps I should have given the number one spot to something with more of the, like, heightened poetic energy, which this does have a ton of that, but it's also just a good scary movie. It's not cerebral, it's not elevated, whatever. This is just a really, really good movie. Okay, so that is my list of the best of 2020 so far. As I record this, I have not seen Sinners yet. I've heard it's unbelievable from all the critics I follow, but I have not seen it yet, so I can't speak to that. Please comment below. Tell me your thoughts, what you agree with, what you disagree with. I don't really know a lot of the, like, public opinion on some of these, and I would love to hear it. And remember, the beautiful thing about film is that everyone has their own opinion on it. There are no wrong opinions in film, unless your opinion is that you did not like Ready or Not from 2019. Thank you guys for watching. As always, go laugh, go watch a horror movie, and go birds. I'm Kirsten Michelle Sills, and this is Kier Kills.